Welcome back into Tide Talk Live here on Monday night, February 27th. No, we're no longer in January.
Almost March.
Almost March. Jake, Joe, how y'all doing tonight?
Man, we're great. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be back. We've had some kind of sickness and everything, trying to get everybody healthy. But I think we're on the mend. So it's good to be back tonight, fellas. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing well. Today was Monday. Obviously, it was pretty good for a Monday. I got my birthday on Friday, so I'm hoping it's a good week, but doing well.
Happy early birthday.
Yeah, how young will you be?
I'm going to be 25 years old.
Yeah, he's
very
still young.
old.
He's still young.
I'm going to feel pretty old.
Yeah.
Well, it's only downhill from there, I promise you.
So I've heard.
Yeah, when you get 30, it's so.
Yeah, but we got a jam-packed show tonight here on our live episode. The chat's open as always, so feel free to chime in with your thoughts and comments on really any subject matter in relation to the Alabama athletic department. But we're going to be talking, starting out with the basketball team. But as always, you guys know the drill. Like, share, and subscribe today. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss a single episode of Tide Talk Live. And I want to start everything out with apologizing if you hear my son going crazy in the background. He is really hyped up for some reason tonight, so just ignore that and enjoy the rest of the show. But guys, we're going to start with some hoops talk. They get another win last Saturday against Arkansas, a comeback victory after falling behind and really playing poorly in the first half. And but the second half they caught fire. I think they scored 58 points there in the second half, and to win the game 86-83 over a really improved Arkansas team with the return of Nick Smith Jr., one of the best freshmen in the country. But now the conference slate is almost over. 25-4, 15-1 in conference play. Jake, we'll start with you. Just your thoughts on the game Saturday and just your general thoughts on the Alabama basketball team.
I missed most of the game Saturday. I got on the last 5 minutes of it, and it was huge having Sears hit all those free throws late in that stretch, because they was just inbounding it, giving it to him, and they was fouling him, and I think he only missed one of the 7 to 8 shots he took. So that was really clutch, and it was good to see, because we talked before we got on here about how it kind of like the guard play has kind of offensively hadn't got out of the rhythm a little bit. But, I don't, like you said, Stacey, we don't need to be clicking right now. We need to be clicking within 2 to 3 weeks from now and getting into a tournament time, NCAA tournament time. So that's when you want to be clicking. But overall, this team, I'm actually it's happy how they ended up. I didn't think there was going to be 15-1 in the conference. I think they still lose, two games, but if we win Wednesday night against Auburn, we lock up the tournament title, regular season title. So that's great to see. But I didn't expect this team to be this good this year. I knew Brandon Miller was going to be a special player, and we had a lot of good freshmen. But freshmen take a little while to get rolling. But this freshman core has been great all season long.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, the game on Saturday wasn't easy going into it. I had a feeling that I think Alabama was favored by 7.5 points. Arkansas, despite their record, is a very good team. I think they're one of the teams that, obviously, March Madness is still a couple weeks away, but one of the teams that I have making a deep run just because they have probably the best guard rotation in the country, or one of the best. So very solid program. As much as we like to joke on Eric Musselman, he's a great coach as well. So most importantly, we got the win. Kind of all year, I've been one of those people that said that we've lived and died by the three, but I think this game kind of proved that we are capable when our three-point shots aren't falling. I think we had made 2 3-pointers the whole game. So if you had told me we made 2 3-pointers and we somehow found a way to win, I would have told you you were crazy. So picked up a big win. Obviously, we have a chance Wednesday to clinch, or actually not clinch, win the regular season, SEC regular season. And I think it makes it just a little bit sweeter that's against Auburn at home. So I know Coleman Coliseum's going to be packed, and I'm really looking forward to that game on Wednesday.
Yeah, the Bama Standard says they love my mustache. What's crazy is I actually have a lot of other facial hair. It's just gray, so it doesn't show quite as much as the stash does because the stash is still nice and dark. So, but I
Mhm.
appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, you guys said it all. This team has really probably exceeded expectations from for
Yeah.
probably even the coaching staff. If you had to ask them, the freshman core has been just elite. Even outside of Brandon Miller, Jaden Bradley has been phenomenal. You look at Noah Clowney; he's really exceeded expectations as well. So overall, this team is you can't really ask much more from what they've done. 15-1 in conference play. The SEC is no joke. 2 games remaining, both winnable games. You got to think they're going to take care of business at home against Auburn. Auburn's really struggling right now, so but they're kind of going to be in desperation mode if we're being honest, though, because they're still probably trying to fight for tournament berth because
Mhm.
they have not looked too great as of late. So that's going to be a really interesting matchup Wednesday night. But considering all that's kind of been going on with the program over the last couple of weeks, the fact that they're able to gut out a couple close wins
Right.
against SEC opponents. I know it was South Carolina, but a road win is a road win in the SEC, and then you gut one out against a really, really good Arkansas team who I don't think anybody wants to play in March. So you just got to tip your hat to Nate Oates and the players there in Tuscaloosa because they just find a way to win. And you mentioned it, Joe, about living and dying by the three. And like I think the past 2 games, Alabama is like four. What was it? I had it like 12 of 47 or something from three over the past
Wow.
2 ball games. So not good at all. But they've won both games. So they just find ways to win, and that's a sign of a really good team, a tough team. And I think we've talked about it in the past that this team is just mentally tough. They just know how to gut out a win. This last Saturday, after that first half, I'm not sure there was many Alabama fans who thought they would come back and get that win against Arkansas, but they come out and play great in the second half and was able to get that big win. And like you said, they at least are going to be tied for the regular season SEC title, and with one more win, they will have it outright. So just a phenomenal job by the team there in Tuscaloosa.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just gonna say, I think they, like you said, a lot of fans. Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
We
sorry,
got
I
you.
just went dead silent for a second. A lot of fans like myself at halftime are kind of anxious about the second half. I know I had a tweet. Basically, I was challenging the team to step up because it just seemed like Brandon Miller was trying to do everything. And, certain games that's going to work out. But when you get later in the season to the point we're at now, going into the SEC tournament and March Madness, you're going to need some other players to step up, and you're going to need the team to be more physical. That's something I think we've struggled with this year. We saw it against Oklahoma. We saw it against Tennessee. These physical teams that play lockdown defense, we have a tough time kind of matching up against. So I think they must have seen my tweet or something in the locker room because the second half, it was like a completely different team. They were physical, took the ball to the rim, were fighting for rebounds. And I got to give props. I'm talking about guys stepping up. Javon Quinterly stepped up big time. He had 16 points. That's a guy in the tournament that's going to be very crucial. Obviously, people talk about Mark Sears. Brandon Miller is one of the best players in the country, if not the best player.
Right.
But a guy like Quinterly could certainly be an X factor for this team if we want to make a deep run and ultimately win a national championship this year, which obviously is the goal.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That this group of players that we got, me and Stacey talked about it before, Joe. It seemed that last year's team, they was more of a, about me. But this team is about the team, and they, as Stacey said, has exceeded expectations, and like you said, they have one goal in mind. That is a national championship. So I feel like this team is dangerous, and I know they have blown people out, but I still feel like they have not played to their best yet. So, I feel like that's coming within the next, couple of weeks.
Yeah, if we could save all of our 3-point shooting for the tournament, then I'm fine with that.
Absolutely.
3-point making.
Right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, Jake, this team is. I don't think they've reached their full potential yet. We haven't really had a game where everybody was clicking.
Mm-hmm.
We've had several games where either Brandon Miller or Mark Sears was just lights out, and then maybe Rylan Griffin was hot off the bench, but JQ wasn't, or JQ was and Rylan wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Namar Burnett flashes. Dom Welch has not yet really shown what he's capable of doing yet. So I still think the best is yet to come from this team, and if they are firing on all cylinders when the NCAA tournament gets started, I'm not sure there's anybody that can beat them when they're at their best. And you got to think that when they're locked down and they're ready to go in March, that they're going to be putting some really good efforts out there for 40 minutes. And obviously anything can happen in a basketball game, but I like Alabama's chances of winning that national championship as I do anybody else's.
Absolutely, 100%. And you talked about Brandon Miller and all the situation going on right now. Boy, he has played like he's had a chip on his shoulder the past couple of games. I mean, he's just been lights out. It feels like he's got a fire lit under him right now. So I hope that fire stays and he just continues to show up and show out every day.
Yeah, the Bama Standard says, agree with you guys. It can't fall all on Miller's shoulders. We need 2 or 3 more guys to become alphas. Yep, in the postseason, no doubt about it. The Bama Standard. And the thing is that JQ's got experience. I mean, he's been a SEC tournament MVP. I mean, think about that. He's that caliber of a player when he is at his best. So when JQ's at his best, Namari Burnett is a former McDonald's All-American. So when he's at his best, he's really good. Rylan Griffin has shown this season that he can, be among the best shooters in all of college basketball. So, and I think another guy that's kind of really flown under the radar, especially over the last 2 or 3 weeks, is Charles Bediako. He has really been important for Alabama there in the paint. He kind of plays that drop coverage. Coming off ball screens on the defensive end of the floor, and his length and his athleticism. He doesn't get a ton of block shots, but he challenges everything, and he disrupts players when they're attacking the rim against Alabama. And he's really a difference maker for the Tide. And then another big, Nick Pringle, a guy that we haven't even mentioned yet. He is really showing flashes of becoming, a guy that's really taking that next step, and just another role player for Alabama to use when the NCAA tournament comes around. That, it's hard to defend a guy who lives above the rim, and that's what he does. When him and JQ seem to have that lob going, and that's a dangerous combination coming off the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick Pringle to me is screaming, Jermichael Green type, athleticism and that type of guy that he could be in the program here, next year and year after. So I'm excited to see how his growth continues to develop.
Yeah, I just kind of want to echo what you guys were saying about Nick Pringle. I love Nick Pringle. He's a phenomenal player. He's kind of growing into his own last couple of games. Also, going back to what you said about Charles Bediako, he's not a guy that's going to score a lot of points. He'll probably have 10 points and 8 rebounds, but his effort and just how well he plays defensively and shuts down some of the bigger centers and postmen, that's not going to show up on the stat sheet. It's not going to. But those of us who've been watching the games this year and know college basketball just in general know how big of an impact it is to have him playing well for this team.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about Bediako, and then we're going to get to a quick break, is he hasn't really been playing basketball all that long. I think he played 2 years of high school basketball in Canada before coming to the University of Alabama. So his best basketball is way ahead of him. I mean, you're looking at a guy that probably in 3 to 5 years, that's when he's going to be at his best. And so I think he's going to be a really good pro, and we're going to kind of look back in like 5 years and think, man, Bediako is really good for Alabama, because he doesn't really get a lot of recognition right now. But I just love watching that guy play, because he's all about effort and he's all about making winning plays, and that's really the difference. And him and Nick Pringle could be huge for Alabama come tournament time.
Absolutely. And one other thing you mentioned about the effort, every possession he's running hard down the court, and I'd love to say that in a big man, because he's trying to get back either on defensively or get get set up offensively and get the offense set if they do a high pick and roll with him. So, like you said, his effort's amazing, and I love to see it.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and on the other side, we are going to be looking at the Alabama tight end room. Spring practice is, it's just right around the corner, guys. So we're going to be looking at the tight end room here in just a minute. We'll be right back. All right, guys, I want to tell you a little bit about BetUS.com. Make sure you click the link in the description below, sign up today, and make that first deposit. And when you do, you will be instantly rewarded with a 125% bonus from BetUS.com. And then you will also be entered into our contest for a $500 giveaway once we receive 30 signups from our link. So click the link in the description below and sign up today at BetUS.com. All right, guys. Welcome back in. All right, look, guys, we're going to be talking about the tight end room here in Tuscaloosa. And if you look at what Coach Saban has done as far as the staff that he has hired this offseason, bringing in a guy like C.J. Dupree from the transfer portal, it's got to make you believe that there is going to be a concentrated effort to become a more physical team offensively. And I think that's really where we got to start when we look at this tight end room is that I think the brand of football is going to look a little different for Alabama in 2023.
Absolutely. How huge was it to get CJ on this staff, especially with Reese coming in as offense coordinator, who uses his tight ends like almost at every play in some capacity in his offense. So him and Nyblack's about to show up and show out. I'm excited to see how this room is going to look this upcoming season.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. Obviously, getting Dupree was massive for us. Not a huge stat guy. I mean, last year he had caught 30 balls for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, but just a guy, like you said, he's really going to help in the running game. He's 6'5", 260 pounds. So big old tight end. But also, I know we're going to kind of dive into this in the next couple of minutes, but I wouldn't count out Robbie Utes as well. There's a lot of plays this year when he was on the field that I was like, who's this guy? And then a couple minutes later, I'm like, I love this guy. He's one of my favorite players.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm excited about this tight end room because I think there's 4 guys that we could see play, kind of share the role as first team guys, and kind of depending on what style of offense Alabama's wanting to run on that particular possession or particular play. I mean, I think you have a guy like Robbie Utes and C.J. Dupree that could play together. If you want to be a real physical team, or even a Miles Kitzel, man, he's a pretty physical football player. But then you got a guy like Amari Nyblack, who is just really a wide receiver playing tight end. So I'm excited to kind of see how the offense uses and utilizes these tight ends, because I think there is, you look at what Georgia's done with their tight ends. Of course, we don't have a Brock Bowers, nobody else does. We don't have a Darnell Washington, nobody else does. But I think what Alabama saw was that you can kind of build an offense around some tight ends that are mismatches, and also still be a physical football team, and then still also make plays deep down the field. And I think that's kind of what Alabama's wanting to do, and what Coach Saban is wanting to do. Bringing in, bringing in Ken Wisenhunt, who has tight end background. Tommy Reese heavily involves his tight ends, and Joe Cox is the tight end coach. He has a lot of history coaching tight ends since his playing days were over at Georgia. So I just think there's been an obvious effort being made to kind of rework the tight end room and kind of reemphasize the physicality of the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. Like you said, there's 4 guys that can play, and I expect all 4 of them to be on the field in some capacity a good bit this upcoming season.
Yeah, I agree. We've talked about it this episode and the last couple episodes. It's just about physicality and getting back to the Bama standard, like in the chat.
Yeah. By the way, that is a great YouTube channel, the Bama Standard. Just to
Yeah.
kind
Yeah,
of
shout out those guys.
give them a shout out, Justin, and all the former players that he has on there on his show. Just a fantastic show. So make sure you're subscribed to their channel as well. But look, let's kind of look at each player real quick. We've talked about the four guys, and I think we'll start with C.J. Dupree because I don't think you bring in that guy from Maryland without believing that he is going to be an instant impact player. I think you see a guy that is, like you said, 6'5", close to 260, but more athletic than what you think, but is not really going to, Brock Bowers anybody. So he's kind of a tweener in my opinion. He's physical enough to play that, that inline tight end who's kind of, more or less a sixth offensive lineman, but he can also make plays in the passing game like a Cameron Latou can. And I think he really is a Cameron Latou top player, except with a hair more physicality to his game than what Latou had.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Joe?
Yeah, I agree as well. And I think the tight end position is becoming more and more important. I mean, we've seen it a lot in the NFL with guys like George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, Dallas Goedert, all these guys. I mean, so the tight end position is becoming very important. Obviously, it's extremely important to have some great receivers, but it's always nice to have a tight end that you can count on. When all else fails, you can throw at your tight end over the middle. He's going to get you 5 or 6 yards. I think it's been a long time since we've kind of had that. But he's been decent last couple of seasons. Obviously, before Latu, we had Irv Smith Jr. He showed some flashes. We thought Jaleel Billingsley was going to be, what Brock Bowers is, but that didn't work out. So haven't really had that premier tight end since O.J. Howard. So I'm hoping maybe not this year per se, but I'm hoping we can kind of get back to that and help out. The other thing about it, having a dependable tight end is what's a quarterback's best friend? A tight end, a security blanket. So whether that be Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson or Eli Holston or whoever is quarterback, I think it's important to have a tight end that you can rely on each play.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to mention that having a fresh face at quarterback and having a safety blanket like a good tight end is going to be key to help development of the quarterback. So bringing in somebody like C.J. Dupree to help in that matter is going to be wonders in this offense, I do believe.
Yeah. So out of the group of tight ends that we have, who are you expecting to kind of be the one that receives the most targets this season? Joe, we'll start with you.
I'd probably say Amari Niblack. How do you say it?
Niblack.
I think he's the most likely to be the receiving tight end. Obviously, Oots kind of used as a fullback, not necessarily he's not going to burn you down the field or anything. The same kind of goes for Dupree in the running game.
Yeah, I think Niblack probably have a lot of targets. Dupree, Oots, Ketzelman, I think it's the other guy. It just depends on the situation that they're in and how they're used. But I think Niblack would probably be the one who would probably receive the most targets.
See, I'm going to go with C.J. Dupree. I think there's a little bit of a misconception of how athletic C.J. Dupree is, and I really think that he's gonna. There's a reason that when he decided to transfer, that it was down to Alabama and Ohio State. The dude can play. I think Alabama kind of got a diamond in the rough in C.J. Dupree, and I think he's going to be one of the more pleasant surprises, even in spring ball, but more importantly in the season here when it gets to the fall. Come what is it? Is it September? Into August, beginning of September when the season first game is. So I really like C.J. Dupree. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. But you got to believe that a guy like Amari Niblack can get some targets as well. But how does he kind of fit in though? You got to think that with the way Robbie Oots was playing towards the end of the season, he was really tied in too. I think Niblack's going to have to come in and take that away from Robbie Oots. So, but like you said, the versatility is there between those four guys. and there's really a good combination of four players that are really solid tight ends that Alabama has to work with and Tommy Reese has to work with. So it'll be a lot of fun to see what they do this spring with the tight end room, and I just feel like C.J. Dupree is going to be surprising a lot of folks this spring.
Joe, you got anything to add?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think that we talk about being deep at every position pretty much, but this tight end room's going to be really deep this year, and Tommy Reese is going to have a lot to choose from, whether that be wide receiver or tight end for sure.
Yep, no doubt about it. But that's going to wrap up our tight end talk. We're going to take one more short break, and then we're going to be back to just kind of wrap this thing up with some miscellaneous Alabama athletic talk. So we'll be right back here in just a couple of seconds. All right, I want to tell you a little bit about Latour Watches. If you click the link in the description below, you're going to be carried to LatourWatches.com, where they have a vast selection of stylish yet affordable watches for all shapes and sizes. And when you click that link in the description below and you get carried to that website, when you sign out, you will receive free shipping on that watch. So make sure you follow the link in the description below and buy you a beautiful watch from Latour Watches. All right, we are back. Look, we've talked about some Alabama basketball. We've talked about the tight end room. Now we're just going to talk a little bit about miscellaneous Alabama athletics that's been going on. Of course, we'll jump to the chat as well and talk about anything and everything those guys want to talk about. We actually have a comment already from David. And he says, I just hope Brandon doesn't get too frustrated and just get ready for the draft. I don't think that's the case. He seems to be really focused on the season and on the team there in Tuscaloosa. So I don't think that's anything to worry about, David. But that is certainly something to keep in mind.
I agree with what you just said. I think it's kind of similar to the way Bryce Young just looks so calm all the time and poised. Yeah. And every time Brandon Miller touches the ball, I'm not worried about I'm not anxious or nervous at all because I know what he's capable of doing. And I talked about it earlier too. We don't necessarily want him to carry this team on his back, but I think if he needs to carry the team on his back, he's fully capable of doing it. But he's also, he's not a selfish player. We've seen games where he has 11 or 12 points. So he can score 30 or 40 points a game if he wants to, but I don't think he's the type of guy to get too frustrated and just kind of, give up and get ready for the draft. I think he's a team player, and I think he's poised, and I don't think the moment is ever too big for him. I think the last couple of games too, he's really shined. I think, people are going to really see the type of player he is once we get into the March Madness tournament. He's balling out.
Absolutely. I want to know what they put in the water down there in Tuscaloosa because we have some of these high profile players.
NIL money.
Yeah, well, that's true. But these big situations and big games, they're just cool, calm, collected. We've seen it with, first with Hurts and now Bryce Young and now Brandon Miller. It's incredible that these star players have so much poise. It's just great to see.
Yeah, no doubt. It's just Brandon Miller is the Bryce Young comparison. I hadn't really thought about it. Yeah. It is that's really kind of hit the nail on the head. He's always calm. He's never, out of his comfort zone. He always seems to be, playing within himself. Making the winning play, making the right play, and he's just so much fun to watch because he can impact the game whether he scores 30, like you said, or if he scores 10. And he's just different, man. And there's a reason he's going to be a top 5 pick. He's probably going to win SEC Player of the Year. If he doesn't, then the SEC needs to just do away with the award. The fact that he didn't win it, the Freshman of the Week this week or the Player of the Week after averaging over 30 points a game and 8 rebounds, don't even get me started.
Yeah, that's a little bit ridiculous, but
it's not a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a lot ridiculous. Got another Tide or Roll fan says Roll Tide. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide.
So, The baseball team's looking real good right now. I know they,
Yeah.
but I was telling my wife the other day. I said, I'm hoping that the baseball team can at least go undefeated in conference play, and then go at least 500 in SEC play. Because Joe, we talked about it the other night. Me and Stacey did. The SEC in baseball is loaded this year. I mean, it's almost like a AAA, to the MLB. It's ridiculous, but. I feel like if you go undefeated in conference play and have a
non-conference play,
not non-conference play, and then a 500 record, roughly in conference play, you probably get in the regionals, and then I feel like that next step that Bo needs to take is getting that second weekend in the regionals. So I'm hoping that's where we're at this year with this team.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Jake. And I do want to ask you guys something, keeping it on the diamond. The softball team, they've lost a couple games this year that really make you want to scratch your head and wonder what's going on. And, I'm not calling for Patrick Murphy to be fired or anything like that, but do you think that there needs to be some sort of changes made to the way the softball program is kind of being ran?
Joe, you can answer that first if you want to.
I think it's a long year. Season just started recently, so Alabama fans were not necessarily the most patient because
you don't say.
Yeah.
we expect the best
perfection.
We expect to be champions. Yeah. So I don't necessarily think anything needs to be changed. I mean, if the problems continue for the softball team, maybe that's something that gets addressed down the road or after the season's over. But I think people need to pump the brakes a little bit and kind of just trust Patrick Murphy and trust the roster that we have, because we have a damn good roster.
You're right.
Absolutely. I mean, we're loaded, and we got a lot of freshmen playing this year, so we you got to get their feet wet, get them rolling, and like you said, Joe, it's a long season. And one thing that I love Montana Fouts, and she's probably going to go down as one of the best, if not the best, in at Alabama history. But I just don't know. It seems like people have figured out how she pitches now, and she's been tagged a pretty good bit, and we really don't have that second person behind her yet because was it Lexi last year? She transferred out, so. I think that's kind of hurt Montana a little bit because she's having to pretty much do it all, and we need somebody to step up behind her to give her some relief when needed.
Well, the problem is she's been pitching in college for so long now that, I mean, she's not throwing anything that people haven't seen a million times already. So
exactly.
It's that's the biggest issue. It's not that she's forgotten how to pitch or that she's not a great pitcher anymore. It's just people are more comfortable with her now because she's been pitching for so long at this level. So I'm with Joe. I think we need to be a little more patient with the program. It just seems like over the past couple seasons, the offense doesn't hit the ball in a timely manner. They never seem to get the timely hits. And there's, I forget, what's the name of the team they lost to yesterday?
Kennesaw State.
Jake, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
there's you can't lose to those guys. You can't.
No. Yeah, it wasn't good. I know we tried to make a comeback, but it fell short. But when it was down, we was down 5-0 going to the sixth inning. I was
that's a joke. I'm sorry, and I'm not even meaning to sound like a jerk, but that can't happen.
No, it shouldn't.
That cannot happen.
No, I mean if you're down 3-2 going to the sixth inning,
that's different. That's different.
But 5-0, I mean, you're not getting timely hits like you said. We don't have a serious home run threat this year. Don't seem like. So somebody needs to step up and get in that weight room and put some upper body strength.
Yeah, I mean, Pringy started the season off hitting some dingers, and she's kind of went a little cold as far as the home runs go over the past couple games. So, but like Joe said, it's a long season, and a lot can change, and we need the freshmen to get their feet wet and, continue to improve, and maybe they will, and I think the team will improve as the season goes on because they are playing, so many new faces, including freshmen. So, It's a long season and a lot can change, but I'm really disappointed that they dropped that one to Kennesaw State. That's just a game you can't lose. And like you said, going into the sixth inning being down 5-0, that's just that's not acceptable when you're Alabama and Patrick Murphy, and that's just the facts of it. So, long season, a lot can change. Hopefully, they'll continue to improve, and we'll see a much different team once SEC play rolls around.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think once these freshmen get their feet wet and start hitting, and I think they're going to be okay. Patrick Murphy's been there 100 times. He's done it before, and I believe this team can still win a national championship.
And we'll talk, the women's basketball team, the SEC tournament will start this week. They got the 6th seed in the SEC tournament. So they will play Thursday, and they will play the winner of Kentucky or Florida, which they play on Wednesday night. So we'll see what Christy Curry and the ladies can do there in the SEC tournament. They're in the NCAA tournament. They're probably going to be an 8 or a 9 seed, kind of depending on what happens in the SEC tournament. But they'll be right there again. So congrats to Christy Curry and them for making it back.
Yes.
Or for most likely punching their ticket to another NCAA tournament berth. So great job to them. I don't see anybody else in the chat right now.
Yeah.
But if you're watching right now, got something you want to talk about real quick, or any questions you want to ask, just do that right now before we head out for the evening. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. And make sure you give this video a huge thumbs up. We got links in the description below for BetUS and Latour watches. So make sure you follow those links and either buy you a watch or sign up for BetUS and get that 125% bonus on your deposit. Fellas, really enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
We got to talk some Bama basketball. Just a historic season for Nate Oates and the Tide. What a season they're having. We've talked a little bit about the tight end room there in Tuscaloosa as spring practice approaches rather quickly. And I know that is going to be a hot topic here when practice starts because, look, there's a QB competition going on. So there is going to be a lot of opinions out there once that competition gets underway when spring practice starts. Have y'all seen an official start date for spring practice? I've seen 3 different dates thrown out, but nothing definitive.
Yeah, I hadn't seen anything.
Me neither.
Yeah. But I tell you, I know the quarterback room and is going to be the hot topic. I mean, there's a lot of positions up for grabs. I mean, we got a lot of defensive backs. It's going to be, new and have new faces back there. The wide receiver rooms, you figure, Burton and Ja'Cory Brooks will take 2 of those spots, but who's going to be the 3rd and 4th guy? The running back room, probably Jace McClellan, but I mean, you got those 2 freshmen who are going to be hungry, want to come in and play, and Jam Miller. He looks like he looked like a daggum little, Derrick Henry run out there last year. So, it's going to be interesting. We got a lot of positions to get squared away in this spring and before fall hits.
Yeah, and if you go back to our catalog of episodes here on YouTube, you can see we've looked at, Jake, what all have we looked at? The quarterbacks, the running backs, the receivers. Mm-hmm. We talked about the tight ends tonight. So all we lack on the offensive side of the ball is the offensive line, which is also going to be a massive talking point because there's going to be a tackle spot open, there's a guard spot open. So there's going to be a lot to talk about on the offensive line as well. So really excited to kind of see what happens when spring practice gets started.
Absolutely. I want to say one thing before we go. I'm sure y'all have kept up with like I have because I've just been amazed at the, Jaheim Oatis, the transformation he has done in the last year here at Alabama. I think he's down to like 316 now or something. I mean, it's incredible. He come in, I think, pushing 360. Might have been over 360.
No, he's lost 101 pounds in the last year.
So I mean, that's awesome. So
he's lost a whole 4th grader.
Yeah, pretty much. So the transformation he has undergone has been amazing. I expect him. Of course, we'll talk about it on defensive lines, but he's going to have a big impact this year, I do believe.
Yeah. Hey, before we go, guys, I would like to, and this is for the chat as well, for those still watching. Give me one offensive player that you're okay. Quarterback's not included. Let's just one offensive player and one defensive player you're excited to see this spring. Jake, we'll start with you.
The new wide receiver coming in, Benson Beasley,
Malik Benson.
Malik Benson. I'm excited to see him because that dude just had speed. I mean, that's all. He is a lot. I mean, he can get down the field quickly. So I'm ready. I'm anxious to see how he develops. And on the defensive side, a lot of talk was talking about a freshman last year. He kind of got injured, but Earl Little Jr. I mean, he looks like he's going to be a stud. So I'm anxious to see if he can take one of those safety positions.
I think for defense, I'll go with Caleb Downs. A lot of people are talking about him maybe stepping in right away and starting, or if not point. Starting, getting a lot of playing time towards the end of the year. And then for offense, we can't need quarterback.
Yeah.
I'll say like the offensive line as a whole, just because last year they were inexperienced. They stepped up a little bit. So I'm expecting them to be one of our strengths this year, and especially with Tommy Reese, we're going to run the ball a lot. So we're going to need them to be one of the best in the country if we want to be a national championship team.
Yeah. All right, I like all those selections. I'm going to go defensively. I'm going to go with a guy who's a veteran player who has shown both that he has All-American ability and also kind of leave you scratching your head. Malachi Moore. What is he going to be? What is he going to be like in his senior season there in Tuscaloosa? We all know how talented and how great he played as a true freshman in 2020. So can he get back to that form, becoming really a playmaker for the back end of that defense? And then offensively, I'm going to go kind of with Joe on the offensive line, but I'm going to be looking at Elijah Pritchett. I think he's a guy who could be the tackle opposite of J.C. Latham, whether J.C. stays at right tackle and Elijah is the left tackle, or if J.C. kicks over to left tackle and Elijah is the right tackle. I'm really excited to kind of see what he can do. I really believe that we're going to have two bookend tackles that are really talented in Elijah Pritchett and J.C. Latham. So I'm excited to see what Pritchett can bring this spring. So I'm looking at Elijah Pritchett on the offensive line and then Malachi Moore there in the back end of the defense. Two guys who've been there on campus for Pritchett's been there 1 year, but Malachi's been there for a few years now. And I really believe that Malachi is one of those guys who has All-American potential. Just can he put it together? He hasn't been the same player that he was as a freshman. A lot of that's had to do with injuries, and then all of a sudden Brian Branch exploded onto the scene and kind of stole the job. But we're looking at a guy who's going to probably be the first safety taken off the board, probably a top 15, top 18 pick in the draft. So can't really fault Malachi Moore for falling behind that guy.
Right. Yeah. Branch was amazing, but Malachi, like you said, his true freshman year was absolutely
I mean, he beat out Branch. Think about that. He beat out Branch his freshman year, and then for that star position, and then when Malachi got hurt as a sophomore, Branch took it over, and he played so well you couldn't take him out.
Right, exactly. So this is Malachi. The star position is Malachi's to lose this year.
Well, and I'm not sure he even plays star. There's a chance, with both safety positions open, he could slide over and play safety. Yep. Or he could play star and Caleb Downs plays safety. There's going to be a lot of competition there in the back end between the safeties and the star position, and even one of the corner spots opposite of Kool-Aid McKinstry. So there's a lot to be excited about there.
Absolutely. I'm excited. Let's get the season rolling.
I have one bold take before we go. I think this will be the best Alabama secondary we've seen in the last 5 years.
I agree.
100%.
I agree.
I think it's not bold.
Yeah.
No, it's bold.
It's bold.
You're crazy, Joe. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So
I'm used to hearing that.
Have we got a safeties coach yet? Or are we still looking at a safety coach?
I think T-Rob's just going to coach the defensive backs.
I got you.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight's episode. Really enjoyed the chat. Bama hoops talk, Bama football talk. Really kind of talked about all the sports there at the end. But thank you guys so much for watching. Like we said, if you're not already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Make sure you give this video a huge thumbs up. Enjoyed it, guys. Y'all take care. Have a good week, and we'll see you next time. And until then, roll tide.
Roll tide.